It's your girl Odie signing in. Today we're going to talk about the 1997 John Singleton film, Rosewood. Now this is one of those historical dramas that are going to really get to you. So if you're not ready to see, black people being lynched, a lot of the use of the N-word, so on and so forth, this is not going to be the film for you. This is one of those films that as a child, the more and more I watched it, the more and more it made me distrust Caucasian people. I'm not going to pacify white people in my response to this film because it is what it is. This is a historical fiction retell of a true story, the 1923 Rosewood Massacre in Rosewood, Florida, which was one of those all-black cities in the state of Florida. Now everybody in the city of Rosewood was black pretty much except for Mr. Wright, who owned a store. He is played by Jon Voight. Now in this movie we're seeing the intersection of these three characters. We have Mr. Wright, who is Jon Voight's character. We have Man, who is Ving Rhames' character, and Don Cheadle's character, Sylvester Carrier. These three people are all coming together during this pivotal time where something has happened. So a few of the other characters that we see, or a few of the other actors rather that we see in this film, is the kid from I don't know if y'all remember him. I think it's Gullah Gullah Island. He was either in Gullah Gullah Island or he was in My Brother and Me, or he was in both. But this kid, yes, he's in this film. Now the story pretty much takes place in this small city, this small area of Florida, some neighboring towns, Sumner, Rosewood. There's another county that's involved that is kind of in this same area space. But a white woman, I can't remember her name. Her name doesn't matter. She is one of those women who stays at home and don't have nothing to do, so she cheats on her husband. So one of these gentlemen were over at her place. They were having their afternoon delight, if you know what I'm saying, and they got into a little scuffle because she accused him of double timing her, ironically. But anyway, he ends up beating her and she's got scars all over her. There are the black helpers, Esther Rose's character, whose name is Aunt Sarah. She and her granddaughter, Philipina, are outside and they are witnessing what's going on. They see the man who comes out. They know that he's a white man as he comes out. And they go in to try to help her, but of course she is telling them to go away and go back outside. Fast forward to a little bit later, she comes outside and she is crying for help, saying that a nigger came and beat her and robbed her place or something like that. And of course everybody's very sympathetic to this screaming and crying small fragile white woman. Everybody wants to protect her. So the men are all gathering together. One of the young little boys goes to the sheriff and tells him what's going on. Oh, I remember her name now. Her name is Fannie Taylor. Oh, Miss Fannie Taylor got herself beat up by a nigger. Not true. So anyway, they come to try to rescue her and they call her husband. Everybody's trying to cater to her, like, oh, what happened? She's making up some grand big old story about some big black man that came into her house and beat her. Now at the same time, the white man who actually came from her house is trying to find his way out of town, and he finds himself at someone's a neighbor's house, a black person, and he finds out that he is a Mason. Now this is something that kind of makes me upset about this film that I don't really get, and I still need clarification. If anybody can clarify for me, go ahead and do that for me. This man is a Mason, and the black man's house that he ends up stopping at is also a Mason. He says like the secret little code question to him, and he responds saying, okay, I gotta help him because he's a Mason. So they're sticking to that bond, that fraternal kind of bond that they're supposed to have. This ends up getting them in trouble later on because as they're looking for this supposed black man who raped Fannie Taylor, they look for him like, oh, well, he's the one that gave him a ride. They basically end up getting lynched for it. As time goes by, it's just a whole bunch of lies that started off from Fannie Taylor saying that she was beat by some black man, and the black people trying to just stay out of the way, and those particular black men trying to help out, their Mason brother. Later on in the film, there's a part where Ving Rhames' character, man, defends himself against a big mob of a lynch mob. And at that time, they come back to the rest of the white people in the town and say, oh, we got jumped by about 50 niggas. It was one. You weren't jumped. You're just embarrassed. But again, it shows how much these lies, they start off some very small. There was a police officer who was called into the next town saying that they needed help. And he said, oh, it's just 3 dead white people, which at that point in time in the film, I don't believe it was 3 dead white men. I think there was 1, maybe 2 dead white men. But even for those 2 dead white men, there were still about 4 or 5 already dead black people. It just basically, it's one of those things, it's one of those historical events that just captures a lot of, white lies literally white lies that end up really damaging a whole lot of people. There's a specific part which I loved in this film where the lynch mob that is looking for the person who supposedly beat Fannie Taylor, they go to the neighboring county and there's a brigade there and they're like, hey, you're not bringing all of that craziness up into our town. And they're like, well, we're just looking for, a colored person. And they're like, we don't care who you're looking for. You're not coming in here. And I love that because that is the kind of solidarity. Now, not to say that everybody in that brigade loves black people. They tolerate them, whatever. But that's what we need. We need white people to stand up and say, hey, this is not going to be tolerated, rather than, just taking part in the craziness, which is what a lot of white people ended up doing in that lynch mob. And just take part in the craziness, not even wanting to know the facts, not even wanting to know what happened, who, fact checking anything. It's just like, well, let's just go crazy and kill every black person, which is pretty much what they ended up doing. Eventually, Mr. Wright and Man come up with a plan to get the women and children who are hiding in the woods, get them onto a train, and the train to get them to the neighboring county or neighboring city of Sumner to safety. So many people were killed in this account, and like we said, this is an actual historical event. This is something that actually happened, though the tales and the people, the characters, and the story is not exactly word for word what happened, but a lot of the violence is, a true account. And so in the end, they end up saying, I think they said that 5 people had died, 2 white people and 3 black people, but in reality it was hundreds more. And I think at the end of the film they show you how they go over the facts of what happened afterwards, and they say that they basically got a little bit of reparations. The descendants of Rosewood got some type of reparations. It wasn't much, but they got something. And this is something that just irritates me. If y'all remember my I didn't post that. But this is just something that irritates me so much about a lot of these historical, fictional films about black people. We get our flowers so late, man. It's like 50 years later, then they're just bringing this story out, or 30 years later, then they're bringing this story out. 100 years after the person is passed, now they're bringing out the real account, and that sucks. But it is something that it's just true. So this is just, I wanted to review this film for Black History Month so that we can get into a lot of the reasons why a lot of people find it important to have so much black pride.